before we start with the Q&A, I and Sajjad already agree on one thing, that we will provide, Sajjad will provide a 1 hour free online consultation for the 3 most eligible candidates. So I will select, if you're interested, send me message, this is, you've already got my WhatsApp number, because all the reminders came from my WhatsApp. Here is it. So if you're interested, send me a message, and then I will check whether you're eligible or not. If you're eligible, then I will set up a one-on-one consultation with Sajjad. And before that, I would also like to emphasize one thing, that even though, let's say you're qualified for the express entry, that doesn't mean that you are automatically be accepted, because this is a government who will select, right? Government will issue invitation to apply. So only the highest ranking candidates will be selected. So it's more like a bit of like a lottery, but you need, in order to apply for this express entry, you need to be qualified first. Otherwise, please don't apply. You're wasting your time. Okay, so let's open for a Q&A. I would like to start with the participant who are raising their hands. Yani, can you want to ask verbally? Please do so.
Yeah, I just want to ask to Mr. Sajjad. I never take master, so which one master is you recommend for me if I already taken graduate diploma in hotel and tourism management in New Zealand, so I can be eligible for express entry? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So
How
if you have
old
a
are you, Yani? You need to mention also your age in this respect, because that's also, yeah, it's also.
Oh, sorry. My age is 33. Is it too old to apply express entry, or it's only get very low point?
Yeah, but you need to be qualified for the language also. IELTS minimum 7. CLB 6 is IELTS 7.
Okay.
All right, so I'll also like to answer this question, and since I said it depends on several factors, it's an interaction of several factors, including your age, your education. You should have at least a bachelor's level degree. So if you have a bachelor's level degree, your age 33 is fine. You will get decent points here. If your experience is more 3 years or more, and you can write a test of English language proficiency in which you could score at least 6 in each band, then we'll have to make a calculation to see whether you meet 67 points deadline or not. So if you wish to do that, Georgina can send you our assessment forms. You can fill out your information in those assessment form, including it will ask you about your age, education, language proficiency, experience, adaptability, and some other factors. So based on that, we can make a tentative assessment whether you are eligible under the minimum, whether you meet the minimum eligibility criteria. If you meet minimal eligibility criteria, you could apply. And then it will depend on how much CRS score are you getting. Another option for you may be that you, if you're thinking of doing a master's degree, if you already have a bachelor's degree, do a master's degree in Canada. That'll give you a study permit. That'll give you the ability to work part-time when you are studying in Canada. And then it will give you the ability to secure an open work permit once you have completed your education in Canada. Based on that open work permit in Canada, you can work in Canada, you can earn money in Canada, you can accumulate Canadian experience in Canada. And if you didn't qualify under federal skilled worker, you might qualify under the Canadian experience class in the coming years.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, who else? Let me read the question here from the beginning. Hang on. Okay. This is from Wajiullah from Pakistan. how to secure job in Canada based degree on social science, my education master in international relations.
All right, securing a job in Canada, there could be one hurdle in securing a job in Canada, and that is that most of the employers would ask you whether you have any status, legal status of working in Canada. Being a Pakistani, you won't have a legal status, I assume. If you are a permanent resident of Canada, or if you have some kind of an open work permit or a closed work permit which is available to you, most of the employers would consider you then. So let's assume that you have that kind of a status. You have an open work permit, where if your spouse is working here, and based on that, you get an open work permit. If you studied in Canada, you got an open work permit. Or there's another way that you secure permanent residence in Canada, and then the getting job is comparatively easier at that state. Now, securing job as a foreign national may not be impossible. You will have to look at the skill set which you have. If it is a high-end skill set, like they are now prioritizing STEM people and healthcare and other such professions. If your skill set is such, all right, if you have that kind of skill set and there's an employer who's willing to sponsor you, that may get you a job. First, you apply through various websites, including the government job website, including all other. Everything is now easier these days through the job boards, through applying directly to the different kind of job employment websites. And if you find an employer who's willing to sponsor you, then they will do a process for you, which is called labor market impact assessment process, which costs them time and resources and money. So if they get approval for you on an LMIA, and then you could apply for work permit and come to Canada. So in short, you can always look for jobs online on various boards, go to the companies where your skill set matches and apply for it. It may be a little difficult for you to get a job offer from a Canadian employer who knows that you don't have the ability to work in Canada, but it may not be impossible.
Okay, Waji, is that clear, or you want to add some more explanation? Okay, I consider it's clear. Okay, next is, hang on. Okay, this is from Johanna Sulaji from Indonesia. His wife plans to study in a 2 years diploma program in Canada. Will he be able to obtain open work permit and bring the 2 kids to public school?
Yes, if the wife is going to a designated learning institute, a recognized institute, then in Canada, in a DLI, you must make sure that wherever she's applying in a designated learning institute. If she's applying there, she gets a work permit, then he could also apply for an open work permit. Sometimes you can apply, more often you can apply for the study permit and spousal open work permit. And if your children are more than 5 years of age, then apply for study permit in the same application process. You may be able to secure open work permit, and you may be able to work in Canada while your wife is studying. Your children would be going to public schools if they're going to the school, not university. University is not free, but up to grade 12, up to grade almost 18 years, they may also get free education wherever you're living.
Yes, but Sajjad, maybe you can elaborate a little bit. So after, let's say, after the diploma program, and maybe the wife will get the postgraduate work permit or something like that. But then after that, that doesn't mean that she will be easily granted the Canadian PR, right? So can you elaborate a little bit the journey?
Yes.
The journey.
When the wife is on a study permit, the husband may apply, or spouse, I would say. When one spouse is on a study permit, the other spouse may apply for an open work permit, and the children could apply for study permits. Once the spouse completes her education in Canada, then she'll be entitled to apply for a postgraduate work permit up to the duration of 3 years, depending on which diploma, how long was the educational duration, and so on. Then the wife could apply for and a postgraduate work permit. Even during that time, the husband could apply for an open work permit. Now, what has happened now after those 3 years of the wife has secured a Canadian credential, Canadian diploma or degree. She has worked on, say, 3 years on a work permit in Canada as well. The husband has worked in Canada first during the 2 years or 3 years of her education, and then when she was on a postgraduate work permit, the husband also kept working in Canada as well. Now, both the spouses have Canadian credentials. One spouse has education as well as experience. The other spouse has experience. Now, these people have met the minimum eligibility for Canadian experience class. Now, they are considered Canadian experience class persons. Compared to someone who has never been to Canada, he or she doesn't have any Canadian education credentials or work experience, these people are better placed to apply for permanent residence under express entry through the Canadian experience class, and they will have far better chances of being selected. Once you start the process as a Canadian experience, again, it will depend on what your age is at that time, what your total education is, what is your language proficiency and everything. But getting in through Canadian experience class is comparatively easier than the federal skilled worker class. I would give one example here. Last year, there was a pool of applicants. There were about 24,000 people in a pool of Canadian experience class persons in the express entry pool. And government during COVID, they realized that, look, it's easier to offer immigration pathway to those people who are already in Canada. They have somehow worked in Canada, they have Canadian experience. So they invited more than 23,000 invites in a single draw, and almost everyone who was in Canadian experience class in the pool was selected and issued invitation to apply.
Okay, Johannes, you want to add up some information, or that's enough for you?
I think that's enough, Georgina. Thank you so much, Sajjad. It's very clear information from you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. Hang on. What else? Okay, so no. Okay, my daughter is in her final semester. This is from Vivek Anandan. My daughter is in her final semester, MS, Master of Science, in a university in USA. Can she apply now or after getting the MS then apply? How much would it cost now if apply now?
All right, and does she have any experience, work experience?
Yeah, so she doesn't have a work experience, so she needs to, yeah, so she cannot apply at this moment, right? Because Canada.
Yeah, so if like from education point of view, it appears she has a bachelor's degree already from US or wherever she has done it. Age factor will be young. She'll be quite young if she's doing her master's level degree. Her language proficiency should be fine because she is studying in the USA in a master's level degree. So she may be in her age factor, her education, minimum bachelor's degree, she already has language proficiency. I'm not worried about those. But if she has never worked, then she may not be able to meet the minimum eligibility criteria. If she has worked during her bachelor's and master's and that work was outside of Canada at least 1 year in one profession, in one job, then she may meet the minimum eligibility criteria for express entry and work. If she hasn't worked, then she may not be eligible based on lack of experience, but she may be eligible under any other program. Some other programs offer it. The application process, it depends on, I'm not sure whether she's single. I suspect she's single, but for a single applicant, it starts at around $5,000 to $6,000 as legal fee, and then some government disbursements as well. So for people who have dependents, like 2, 3, 4 spouse and others, that fees accordingly adjusted.
Okay, Vivek, is that enough? feel free to ask verbally if you want to have more questions. Okay, this is from Kausar Hussain. This is from Pakistan. This is something I cannot advise. If you're in Indonesia, then it's easily for me to advise or to refer. May someone will help me regarding tourist visa or student visa, because I want to go, but here in Pakistan, agents don't tell me clearly. I don't know. So
yes, I have seen this trend a lot in Pakistan. I am admitted in Pakistan as well. I am from Pakistan. I served as a deputy commissioner there. I served in multinationals there. I practiced there as well. So many of my clients they come from Pakistan, and unfortunately, there's a huge mushrooming of ghost consultants, illegal consultants, agents there in Pakistan. They're not licensed. They are not competent to give you advice, but they provide advice, all kind of advice. Sometimes so surprising that I'm so surprised to listen to that information and advice that I fail to see any law book on immigration which offers that kind of advice or that kind of law. Sometimes I think they believe whatever they feel like, they start advising clients on that, and they're charging hefty amount of money from there as well. So I've heard that there are agents there in ghost consultants and illegal consultants who are charging up of 25 lakh, 30 lakh, 40 lakh from clients. That's unfortunate. So coming back to the immigration side of it, the temporary resident visa, you are talking about visitor visa or a study permit. They are broadly categorized under temporary residence visas, TRVs. And the government looks at a few, as the law says about these, like there's section 179, role of the act and regulations. There's certain things which you have to convince the immigration officer about to successfully get those visas. You should have a solid purpose of coming to Canada. If you have never been to a neighboring country, even to Dubai or some other country, and now suddenly you wish to come to Canada, it raises doubts in their minds that this person is 40 years of age. He has never been outside of Pakistan ever, and he now wants to come to Canada for tourism, to see things around. He doesn't know anyone in Canada. He's not very well established in Canada. He doesn't have strong ties. He doesn't have a good employment. He's only earning, say, in Canadian terms, $200 a month. Sorry, $200 a year sometimes. And this person wants to, he doesn't have any assets in his name. He has no travel history. He has no strong ties. So giving visa to those clients and people becomes difficult for the officer, because you are unable to prove solid purpose, your strong financial background, your strong ties back home and all. It is possible. We have been able to secure visas for quite a few weak candidates as well, but it's all about how you present your case to the immigration authority. I don't say no, that is impossible to it, but it has to be a really strongly drafted application in which we are able to assist. No one can guarantee you 100% whether you will have 100% grant of visa, but if you're going to a lawyer or professional, he'll make sure that whatever truthful information he could present in the most solid way, he could do it. And second, if the application has been drafted or crafted professionally with strong evidence of it, and still the visa officer refuses it, then that application could be taken to the Federal Court of Canada, and the decision of the officer could be challenged there in Canada. Most of the times when people do it themselves and they bring it to us after the refusal, or they've gone to an illegal consultant and he has messed up their file and brought it to us to look at it from the court angle, most of the times we don't take up those cases, because we tell them that, look, these are clear deficiencies in your application. Even if we take it to the court will throw them out. So there's no fun in putting in $10,000, $12,000 in the litigation process and pursue those applications. But strong applicants, I've seen sometimes strong applicants have also been refused by the Canadian authorities. In our cases, we have seen people who were refused twice or even thrice. And then we found that there were certain deficiencies on the part of applicant, and then there was some unreasonableness from the decision maker as well. And then we were able to secure them visas. Study permit, similarly, if it is shown, if the officer infers that you are using the study only as an excuse of getting in Canada, and then you will never go back, they will refuse those study applications. The study application refusal rate from Pakistan is quite high. Around 60 to 70% applications are refused in the study permit domain in Pakistan. That again may be because you haven't chosen the right course there. It didn't make sense that you have studied music whole your life, or Islamic studies whole your life, and suddenly you want to get admission into a nursing diploma. So there should be some logical connection between what you have been studying and what you intend to study in Canada. Similarly, you will have to show in study permits that education was not available in Pakistan, and why did you select that and didn't select the UK for that education, where the money came from. And so there's so many factors around it, but it is possible to do, and our firm helps clients in the study permits and work permits, as well as in the temporary resident visas, as well as challenging those negative decisions in the court, provided you have done well in the initial application. Thank you.
Okay. Let's give a chance to Hendra. Pak Hendra, this is Hendra from Indonesia. Yes, please ask questions.
Hello, Mr. I would like to ask you if I apply provincial nominee program, do I need to create express entry profile first? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So most of the programs are integrated with the express entry system, and then they require your presence in the express entry pool. There are a few programs which are not linked to a provincial nominee, to the express entry system. So most of the programs require it, but there are a few exceptions as well. It will depend on your profile and under which program do you qualify. If you are eligible under one of the programs not linked to the express entry, you may apply independently.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, Faisal Nawaz.
Yes, can you hear me? Yeah, this is Faisal Nawaz from Pakistan. My age is 54 years old. I worked as a telecom engineer around the world. Even I worked in America on H-1B visa. Even I had the Canadian visit visa, which got expired in February. So I just want to know about the startup visa, because now I'm doing a automation business in Pakistan, but I cannot open LC, and my business is totally affected because of the government policy. So now everyone is considering immigration to America or Canada. So can you share some details about the startup visa?
Yes.
Like how much money I should bring, or like suppose I can arrange 200,000, but will it be deposited in government account, or I have to arrange more to start business, or what exactly is this amount?
All right.
Will it be available for me to do the business, or it's has to be deposited in the government account? So can you share some details about it?
Yes, of course, because startup visa is something which is very close to my heart. I even have done programs for other Canadian lawyers to educate them about the startup visa program from the platform of my bar. So that is something which we do. We have helped several clients, especially from Pakistan as well, in developing their startup companies in Canada and then applying for the permanent residence and all that. Now, startup visa is a program which is for those individuals who are innovative, who have some innovative business ideas. There is no minimum requirement similar to the entrepreneur programs where you have to commit at least $600,000 or $200,000 or $300,000, $400,000. There's no such requirement. There's no minimum requirement of investing an amount in the business. Startups, there is no minimum. Just give me a second.
Sajjad,
Right.
maybe you can you can show some slides of SUV, maybe. No.
Do we have enough time for that? What I can do is that he could approach me and then we could schedule something. But I'll just give you some basic information about it. There's no minimum investment requirement in it. You don't have to go to a specific province like provincial nominee programs. You can be in Toronto or Vancouver and do the startup business as well. if you have an innovative idea, you have to develop your business around that innovative idea and seek a support from one of the designated organizations in Canada, which could be venture capital, which could be angel investor, which could be an incubator. So you have to pitch your idea to one of those organizations, secure their support, develop your qualifying business, develop technology and whatever it is. And then based on that, you also have to show funds in your which are available to you for the first year of settlement in Canada. You have to demonstrate your language proficiency. And based on these 4 factors, having a qualified innovative idea, a qualifying business, support from designated organization, access to settlement funds, and the language proficiency, the ability, and that's a lower language proficiency requirement compared to the skilled workers. If you have all those, you will be able to submit your PR application. If you are one of the essential members, then you could come to Canada on a work permit. Now, as I discussed earlier in this presentation, that the government has also announced that in future, in the coming year, they will not only issue work permits to essential, but also to the all members, non-essential members as well. And the duration of that work permit initially, the government at this time it was a 1-year work permit initially, and then, but now government is saying that they would give up to 3 years of work permit to anyone who is applying under the skilled worker class. So you get a 3 years open work permit. Previously, as of this time, I would say, you are only entitled to work or allowed to work for your startup company. But the government says, now we understand that people who are applying under the startup visa class, they may not have income support in the early years because their startups, they don't start giving profits day one. Most of them fail as well. So they are considering, and they have announced that they will be allowing startup founders to also work, find a job and work for another employer as a day job. So it appears to us that it is going to be far more attractive than it was in the past. And if you are, since you have technology background, you have indicated that you've worked and you have strong experience in that. So if you have an idea, it may be one of the best options for you as of this time. Similarly, now coming to the cost, I want to make it very clear, because in Middle East and in so many other jurisdictions, I get inquiries from my clients and they tell us that, oh, look, there is an agent there who's telling me that he could do start a visa in $80,000. You provide them $80,000, they'll do everything in it. I fail to understand, because I'm a business lawyer myself. I know startup companies, there's huge cash requirement. Initially, you can do well, but then once you start, scaling those companies up, you need a lot of money for them. Sometimes the burn rate is $500,000 or so. But if your idea is decent, you not only have to complete the business planning process, you have to establish that business in Canada, you have to develop technology in Canada, you have to develop some kind of traction, you are paying immigration lawyer, you are paying the corporate lawyer, you're paying intellectual property lawyer when you're securing your property. You need to show settlement funds as well. For a family of 6 people, you need to show about, if you are coming on a work permit, you need to show around $60,000-$70,000 in your account that you'll be meeting the requirement for the settlement fund requirement for work permit. For PR application, it is lower, but if you wish to come on a work permit, you have to still show a higher amount of money. But with your $200,000, if you want to develop your own startup company, I don't say it's impossible, but it'll be difficult, because then you'll be bearing all the cost. When you're going to one of the designated organizations, they are charging you some money as well, like 30, 40, 50,000, depending on it. So there's huge cost around it. Similarly, if you are in a startup company, you start a company here, you are the only person, there's no one else to help you during the first few years, you need to hire people. And when you are hiring people, you need to have budget for that, you need to allocate money for that. The best scenario is that when you join hands with 2, 3, 4 other people. I don't say make it up to 5 people are allowed in a single startup company. I don't suggest that we should make a hodgepodge of people in a company only for the sake of immigration, and then ultimately, if one person, essential members, is declined, all others are declined. But we generally do startup companies with people whose background we have vetted, because it affects the rest of the team as well. So if you have 2, 3 founders, it may be a good idea to join hands with those 2, 3 founders who not only contribute They share the money. They could do it within the budget you have. Every founder, if he brings in that kind of a budget, then you could comfortably do that company. Here, you will be 3 founders in that company who will be owning shareholding in that company. And then you will have access to skill set available in there. For example, we have a company in which we have marketing professionals, we have scientists in there, and we have for example, in IT or related digital marketing and that kind of a professional as well. So there is someone who has experience of operations in a particular field, and then we have that person as the chief operations officer or somebody who will be looking after those functions. You don't have to hire talent from the very beginning. You have the founder who has that skill set and talent, and he could use it. Similarly, one of the founders has marketing background, a digital marketing, strong digital marketing background. So that is the person who has that in-house skill set, I would say, who is using that in the skill set for the growth of the company in the initial years. So when you are multiple founders, you share cost, you have a diverse skill set available in it, and you are able to successfully launch your company in Canada and secure permanent residence as well. This is not a passive income program. The amount of money which you have to put in startup visa, it doesn't have to land in a bank account. You don't have to show a bank account in there. That's the money which is actually being invested in the company. And that's what the immigration authorities will look at. When the designated organization is doing due diligence, they look at it as well. But when the immigration is deciding on that application, say 2 years later or 3 years later, they will look at whether you have actively been engaged in the business or not. If you have parked money only in the bank account, did nothing, then even doing everything and all the waiting, that application is going to fail. I always tell my clients, look, when you're putting in money, first, don't expect that you can start a business in Canada and $50,000 or $100,000. You cannot do it in Pakistan as well. I've been a deputy commissioner of income tax, say, how many years? More than 20 years back. And even at that time, it was so difficult to start a business at a very low cost. So if someone is telling you that they can establish a business for you in 50,000, it's impossible. You have certain liabilities which you have to meet. You lease property, you hire people, there's minimum wage you can give them. You cannot hire somebody sitting in Pakistan for your Canadian startup company because that's not creating employment in Canada. So that money has to be actively, wisely invested. And when you're parting away with that money and you have a great idea, then I would suggest do it as a business. You think of it as a business first and immigration as a side product of it. If you think of immigration as the main purpose of it and business as a side product of it, the business is not going to succeed. And if the business doesn't succeed and it doesn't show progress in the first 2, 3, 4 years when the application is looked at, even the immigration will not go anywhere. But if you have chosen an idea, if you've done well for that idea and you have developed that as a business with a conviction, there's a likelihood that you can end up in a multi-million dollars business. You have put in $200,000 each, but then you get a valuation of say $3 million in 3 years' time. So you not only got immigration, you are also making money. And sometimes, if there is who knows that tomorrow some bigger company comes and acquires your company and you make some money out of it as well. So not a passive investment, it is a full-time investment. So if you are interested, you are most welcome to approach us. We'll do an initial session with you. That's a paid consultation session initially, because we cannot afford to do free consultations all the time. So in that session, then we'll discuss that idea, and we have a team working with us. We'll take your idea and we'll develop that idea. All the interaction we'll be doing on your behalf with the designated organizations. I directly work with the CEOs of these designated organizations. They know me personally. I know them personally as well, a few of them, not all of them. There are 60, 70 of those. But then we can take you to one of the most reputable designated organization, hold your meeting with them, do everything to secure you. We are helping through our team. We help in developing your business side as the full-fledged business side, as well as your legal side. We take care of it. So, Georgina, is it okay if I copy paste my client identification and preliminary information forms here? So anyone who's interested, they could just fill out their information. And so in the chat.
Yes, but then you need to choose 3 of the most possible, most eligible for the free.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so these are the links to two forms. One is client identification form, which asks about your information, your telephone number, email address, etc. The other is preliminary information form. This is for both the skilled immigration as well as business or startup immigration people. Like it asks you about your education experience, net worth, investment ability, any inadmissibility, and other factors. So we receive these forms, and then we look at the top 3 people who we can choose for the free consultations. And if you're one of them, then we can discuss in detail in one of the upcoming Zoom or video meeting your credentials and what is your pathway to the Canadian immigration.
Thank you very much. I got a good idea about startup visa. So the one last thing, should I come to Malik Canada on a visit visa and evaluate the market and then decide? My objective is not to, migrate. First is to do business. So I had the visa of visit visa, and I can apply again and hopefully will get one. So should I be coming here and do the evaluation?
Have you been to Canada before?
No, I worked in America on H-1B, but never been to Canada. I got the visa for 4 years.
You were so
expired, yes.
All right, so I think it's similar story. I studied in the UCLA in US, but I never came to Canada during that time. So you have done job on H-1B and never been to Canada. So yeah, it may be a good idea to come to Canada, but most of our startups, our clients come after they secure the work permit or so, because the world is so connected these days. And when you are involving us, we have analysts who are doing that analysis for you in the market, whatever idea that is. And we are helping you polish that idea, and all the interaction these days is done through that. If you have a program of coming yourself for this, yes, you can always come, but this is not a mandatory requirement for you. You could still successfully do everything while sitting there, and we'll share the research with you, and everything will be shared online.
Thank you very much. I will be contacting you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, Faisal, is that enough? So we can give the opportunity to ask for other participants.
Yeah, sure. And one thing, Georgina, I would like to add, because sometimes people find it difficult to find a group of people as founders of the company.
Yes,
so they're the only
definitely.
one, they don't know anyone. Like we get a lot of inquiries, and we have vetted clients as well. Like if, for example, Mr. Faisal Nawaz would like to join, I will have to verify his credentials, because if you are joining as an essential member in a startup company, and one member has a problem and his application is refused at a later stage due to some background issue or something, then the other 2 people or 4 people they would also be refused. So it's very important for us to know our clients well before we take them up. So most of them come through referrals, strong referrals. Then we do some our own background check as well. And then they are kind of vetted clients through reliable sources and everything. So if you don't have any co-founders there, we may be able to match you with someone who has that skill set, which would work well with your idea. And sometimes it's your idea and other people are joining in. Sometimes it's another idea or another startup company which we are developing, and we have 2, 3 founders already, and we need one more founder with your background. That's something, that kind of introduction we can always do with the clients. And most of the clients in a startup company are our clients. If there are 3 clients, they're all my clients. So I have a relationship with almost all of them, a strong relationship with all of them.
Yeah, so to those of you who are not familiar with the startup visa, so the uniqueness of the startup visa is that in one startup company, there can be maximum 5 startup founders. So 5 people, 5 applicants in one startup. But in this case, Sajjad, so is it possible to, combine the startup founders from different countries?
If they're in close, we have to develop a connection with them. Like somebody who's totally unrelated background, it will be a little difficult, but it is possible. For example, there are people who are sophisticated professionals, they have connections in that world, like they're in Pakistan and they have friends in Dubai. So people from different backgrounds may come up with ideas. It should be a logical kind of a thing. It shouldn't be illogical that someone sitting in Africa who speaks a totally different language is connected with someone in China and then yet another person in Europe, then it becomes a little difficult to develop that coherence in the team. But in closer vicinities, it is possible. Sometimes people are living in Pakistan, another Pakistani is living in, say, Middle East, in Dubai. So we have in our startup companies, which we are developing, or we have developed, we have people from, in one startup company, we have someone from a European country, another person from a Middle Eastern country, yet another person from Pakistan. So, but there is something common in between all of those.
Okay, got it. Okay, there's another questions. Hi, apologies from James Pierre. This is Indonesia. I apologize firsthand because I cannot use my microphone. I'm 24 years old, bachelor in biotechnology from Indonesia. I graduated in 2021 and have been working in a different field for 3 years since. Is it possible to apply for the express entry, and how do I get my bachelor degree assessed?
All right, so yeah, based on your age, you are at the sweet spot. This is what I call where you get the maximum points. I'm not sure about what your score would be in the language proficiency, assuming this is above 7 or so. You have bachelor's degree, which you can get again. The process is called educational credential assessment. All right, this educational credential assessment is a process which you need to undergo for your determination, for the evaluation of your degree. So what I'm trying to do is that I am trying to copy a link in this chat for educational credential assessment. You'll come to know about this process by clicking at this link, and then you'll be able to find Canadian organizations which are able to do the accreditation. For example, one is World Educational Credential Services, WES, World Educational Services. So you go on their website, create your profile, put in all the information, pay their fee, provide them your degrees, diplomas attested wherever they are from. They have different requirements for different countries. And then after processing, they issue you a certificate which says that they have evaluated your credentials of master's or bachelor's level degree. And as per Canadian credentials, your credential is equivalent to a bachelor's or whatever the case is. So here you go on this link and find this information there.
Okay, here I add for Wes. Okay, Wes.
Yeah.
This is
Yes. Yeah, so I think if he has bachelor, he gets accreditation for bachelor's degree and 2 years of experience he already has. If he's in one of the tiers, then language is decent. He will at least make it minimum eligibility criteria as per my hunch. And then if he submits the forms, we can do a tentative assessment of his CRS score as well, that where would he score. So, that will give us a forecast of what his score could be in one of the, and then, we could evaluate what else could be done in his case.
Okay, let's have 3 more, okay? Otherwise, we will go on until midnight. Okay, this is one of my prospects. He's 46 with a master's degree of 10 years experience and have no family there. So Muhammad Isa Lutfi. So again, this is the same Sajjad, right? The CRS score and 6 selection factors. If you're eligible, then you're eligible. Yeah.
At 46, you get 0 points.
Yeah.
So for age, which is a big dent. So, and then it depends on education. So it may be a little weaker. We may have to find another option.
Okay. For this gentleman, I will do assessment with the CRS and with the 6 selection factors. Okay. And if he's good enough, then I might ask you to, but you can, anyway, you can, here you can fill in the form and Sajjad will choose the 3 most eligible. Anyway.
Yes. And yeah, so I think being motivated for this is extremely important. Being motivated for Canadian immigration or some kind of a visa, if you are motivated, we can always find a way for you. But if you're not motivated and half-hearted, this is not a journey for faint-hearted, I would say.
Yeah, okay, this one is good. Hi, I'm okay. If under Ngantung, he's 28. Next month, he's going to Canada to study for MBA for 2 years. In your opinion, should I start to apply express interest now? What is it? Express entry maybe, or perhaps
Yes.
later along the line before I graduate or after 1 year of Canadian work experience with a postgrad work permit. I mean, should
So
he apply now or?
yeah, so if he has an experience, if he already has an experience of 1 year in one of the required professions, and he could score high in English, he may be able to initiate the process. But I could actually advise when I see what is the tentative CRS score of this person. So if his CRS score is decent, it is within the decent range of the prevailing scores, then it may be feasible to apply.
Okay, so here accountants are accountants. Yeah.
Yeah, but after he's here and after he has secured a Canadian master's degree and work experience, definitely that he must apply at that time. But even at this time, we can evaluate his profile of regarding the tentative CRS score.
Yeah, so are accountants and finance classified as trade workers? No. So trade is like plumbers or semi-skilled, right? Plumbers, electricians, something like that.
Chefs, yeah, chefs.
Yeah, chef. But for trades, as far as I know, it needs job offer, no? You need job offer for the skilled trades. Sajjad.
Yes. Skilled trades, you need a college certification for the skill trade. Job offer adds to the points in your skill trade as well. Most of the people who are being selected on the skill trades are already in Canada, and they have been in Canada for some time, and they have some kind of sponsorship by the employer as well. They're working with the employers, and then they're helping them secure the Canadian immigration.
Yeah, so for the skilled trades, you need job offer for the Canadian experience class and express, and for the federal skilled workers program, you don't need the job offer, correct? So only the skilled trades you need job offer.
Yeah, Canadian experience class. One thing is important that Canadian experience should be within the last 3 years. So if you had Canadian experience 10 years back, then today you won't be able to apply. So it has to be in certain time period of. For federal skilled worker class, there's no job offer requirement, but then the threshold is quite high.
Yeah.
Most of the times, the people, they join a federal skilled worker program with one of the provincial nomination programs to get that bump in the CRS score.
Okay. Hermanto, yeah, Pak Hermanto, please ask questions.
Okay, thank you. Actually, this is for my son. He graduated from Canada and has 3 years for postgraduate working permit. And my question is, after he's now working there, and after having 1 year experience, what do you think is the right time to apply? I mean, it is better to directly apply or waiting for maybe more working experience before apply.
So how old is he?
23.
23, and he has secured a bachelor's level degree?
Yeah, bachelor degree in Canada, in Toronto.
Has he written any English test or language proficiency test yet?
I think he has the test before apply to the university, like 5 years ago, TOEFL. Can we use that?
So, yeah, so it appears to me, I don't exactly, I need to calculate his score and I need some further information on it. But I think his getting an evaluation is better for him. But if he has score, if he meets the minimum eligibility and he has some decent score, then he should apply at this stage. There's no harm in because as I told you, there's flexibility in the system. If he has 1 year of experience now, or say 1.5 years of experience, it will be considered 1 year. Then if his express entry profile is submitted, it will remain active for 1 year. So during that year, if his experience is increased from 1 to 2 years, we can always update that experience in the
I see.
profile, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
flexibility in it. So instead of waiting, you can just be in the pool. He can be in the pool, and if there's anything changes, he improves his language score, or he improves his number of years, or he gets another, say, diploma or something, he can always update it.
Yeah, yeah. The working experience, minimum 1 year working experience, must
Yes.
come from one company, or
It could be different companies. In Canadian experience class, it
Yeah.
could be 1 year experience is required, but it could be in different companies.
could be in different, yeah.
Yeah,
In
he may
terms
be may have worked for 2 employers. It's 1 year continuous experience is required. Doesn't have to be in a single company, unlike federal skilled worker. In federal skilled worker, you have to at least have 1 year of continued experience and then others. But in Canadian experience, you can have you can club experiences.
Oh, yeah. So the first job is like internship. Is it okay with that? And then he moved.
Was that it's the job should be a fully paid job, more than 30 hours a day.
Yes,
And
yes.
it cannot be during the studies. It cannot be if he was studying and then he did a job during that studies, then that is not considered a job.
Yeah, yeah. After he finished his study.
After he finished his studies, if we can categorize as a full-time job, he was working
full-time.
full-time. He was working 30 hours and it was not a seasonal job and he was paid for it, then yes, unpaid internships are not considered.
Yeah, yeah. It's a paid internship. It's okay.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, one more. Sajjad, this is also very interesting questions. Is there any quota, for the candidates selected in 1 and 3? Because it's every time it's different, right?
Yeah,
it's
so
like
there's
different number of people.
There's an annual quota for every year. Like this year, it is around 80,000 something. Next year, there'll be another 10, 15,000 bumps in skilled worker, and the year after that will be another 10, 15,000
No,
number.
in every withdrawal, is there like a quota, or
No,
how is it?
there's no quota. Sometimes they are 2,500, sometimes they're 4,000. They determine on their own, but they have to meet the annual quota. They have to take everyone for whatever the annual quota has been determined. Annual quota is about a little more than 80,000 for this year. So there's otherwise no minimum. As I told you, in one express entry draw, they picked up 23,000, but that was exceptional. We never saw it before that and never saw it after that. In one of the express entry draws for Canadian experience, they picked up more than 23,000 people in a single draw.
Okay. This is Atlantic immigration. So AIP is, you need a job offer, correct? In the AIP, Atlantic immigration program. Yeah. So this is because someone has age 46 to apply PR through Atlantic. Yes, but for the PNP or Atlantic immigration program, then you need a job offer.
Like I would say, like most of the PNP, provincial nominee programs for skilled immigrants, they need some kind of connection with Canada. Most of them. There are exceptions. There are 2, 3, 4 programs where you don't need any Canadian credentials, but most of the PNP programs favor people who have either studied in those provinces or have worked in those provinces or have a job offer in those provinces, or they have some kind of a connection in the form of family or someone out of their family living there.